I said that I'd washed all my pots and trays, but I keep finding lengths of netting here. I don't know what I'm going to keep, so I need to put that aside and have a think. More pots to wash. I spoke too soon. So I've set myself a challenge. I'm going to try and transform my greenhouse for spring. So let's see if I can get it ready in just one day. And although it doesn't feel like it now, spring's just around the corner. So I really need to sort out this mess and prepare my greenhouse for sowing seeds and raising my plants. So welcome back to my kitchen garden. So one of the biggest challenges us gardeners face during the transition from winter to spring is the resurgence of pests. Now, they've been dormant throughout the cold weather. So things like aphids, spider mites and whiteflies, they're just a few of the unwelcome pests that can cause significant damage in the greenhouse to our plants if we are not vigilant. Now, I've washed all my pots and trays in the autumn, so I really don't need to worry about those. But what I do need to do is a thorough clean out, which includes sweeping the floor and wiping down the benches. Now, this cleaning will help to prevent any spread of disease, and it provides a fresh start for the new season. And when I've done all that, I'm going to check for any pests, inspecting all the nooks and crannies, because that's where the slugs hide. I don't know how they get in the greenhouse, but I always seem to find a couple in here and they can do a lot of damage. So let's get started. This needs to go in the shed. I said that I'd washed all my pots and trays, but I keep finding pots. So I've got loads more to wash. Oh no, these are clean. They're clean, they're okay. These all want washing, so that's got to go. Sort that. Use this same way as you would use fleece. It's getting a bit tatty, but it's useful. That's all got to go. Gosh, my hands are cold already. This is the sort of foamy stuff you get in packaging. I always save it. It's quite useful. It works well as a fleece. It's quite well insulated. So it's just a little tip. I got lengths of netting here. I don't know what I'm going to keep, so I need to put that aside and have a think. Now, what have I got here? More pots to wash. I spoke too soon. So look what I've just found. I'll lift these up. How dare they? I think they're going to be going in the compost wheelie bin. Oh, there's none under that one, thank goodness. Or that one. Right. You are going. Right, I've got 3 pots with spent compost in from the tomatoes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to empty them out and mix them with some blood, fish and bone, and then put them on the back bed. It's bitterly cold today and my hands, I cannot feel my fingers. I found my gym gloves, so I've got fingerless gloves on. So I'm just taking a well-earned break because I just suddenly got so cold. I couldn't feel my fingers. Now, I had double gloves on a little while ago, which worked quite well. But as soon as I started doing anything fiddly, it was hard to manage. So, but I have warmed up a little bit, despite the fact that it's only 8 degrees in here at the moment. And every time you open and close the door, then you get a rush of cold air. So, yeah, it's not that great today, to be honest. So I'm not going to clean any of the glass, certainly not outside, and I don't want to bring sort of any moisture into the greenhouse because I can't have the doors open to circulate the air. The automatic windows are shut and I don't want to build up a mould. So I think that's going to be a job probably for the end of February, beginning of March, when the temperatures are a bit warmer. So I'm going to finish my coffee and then I'm going to carry on with the lower shelves. Now, I am a bit of a neat freak and I organised all these containers a couple of years ago, which work really well. However, under here is not so good. I've got some bulky netting which I think I'm going to get rid of. Now, my hand tools I could also do with a bit of attention. Now, I work in a garden centre and recently discovered that we stock left-handed secateurs, and I was so excited. So I think I'm going to treat myself to a new pair because I think these have seen better days. They don't cut very well, and this lock keeps jamming. I've soaked it in WD-40, but I don't think they were very expensive. I think they're a cheap pair and they've seen better days, so I'm going to treat myself. So these are one of my containers and I've just emptied it out to sort out what I've got. Now, I don't know about you, but it's all these little bits and pieces that are really useful in the garden and it's nice to have them organised. Now, I've got all sorts of bits and pieces here. These are quite handy. These are a 3-way bracket, although that one's actually broken. I'll have to have a good look at them. Some of them might be past their best now. They've got a bit brittle. But these are quite handy because you can put a cane through horizontally and 2 vertically. So it's a good way of joining canes. So I've got those. These are good for holding down netting. These are what I call poking the eyeballs. So you put these on the end of canes just to protect, so you don't sort of poke your eye or whatever. Much the same as these. These ties are usually quite handy. I've kept all of my, I don't know what you call this, it's almost like a rubberised tie. It was on a great big roll, but you can use it over and over again, so I've saved all of that. I've I've saved these when I've bought any plants that have got 3 canes. So these little toppers, they're quite handy to use again. This is another type of cane topper, a bit more rustic. I've got some homemade labels, they all need repainting. All my little black labels, which I've shown you before, they're in the sink in the kitchen at the moment. I'm disinfecting them. I won't be able to get the writing off them because I used a permanent pen, but I use a lot of them, or the same varieties over and over again, so I can use them. So I'm going to put all this away now. These are all broken. Right, I'm going to get rid of them. I've had them years. I can't tell you how many years I've had them. I've had them way before my allotment, so they might be 20 years old. So my favourite part of the garden centre where I work is all around here. All the propagation. Look at all of this. Down here. Now what I want are these trays. I want 2 of these. So 2 of these. And then I want a capillary matting. What have we got here? Moisture matting. Some vermiculite. Getting itchy fingers now. Look at all of this lot. These I'm very excited about. So I'll have one of those. So starting seeds under cover gives them a head start on the growing season, and doing all this preparation now means that I'm going to be confident that my greenhouse is going to be ready. Now, raising seedlings indoors requires extra support, so using the right compost, good lighting and warmth are all essential. I do have some seed sowing compost, but I needed another bag and I managed to pick this one up yesterday. So maintaining soil moisture in a greenhouse can be challenging too, especially since plants grow in a limited amount of soil which can dry out really quickly. Now this is particularly true when temperatures rise, leading to increased evaporation. So because of this, I'm going to be using capillary matting for the first time. Now this matting, see, it's like a felt. I shall line each of my new trays that I've bought with this, and the idea is that you absolutely saturate it and then you stand your seed tray pots on it, and then they wicken up the water, and you just keep the mat wet all the time, and then you can ensure that the plants get exactly the amount of water that they need. Now I replaced these trays. I don't want to get rid of them. I'm a little bit fond of them. I know that sounds bizarre. But I don't think they'll withstand the amount of water. I don't think they're totally waterproof, so I think they would rot over time. So I've got the plastic trays and I'm going to line them with the matting, and I think with the wooden trays I might make a frame and turn them into a shelving unit in the corner of the greenhouse that generally doesn't get used because it doesn't get as much sun. So that's a plan for another day. So I use these tomato plant halos for the very first time last year, and they help keep the roots hydrated. Now you sit these in your container and then you plant your tomato in the top. The roots can then go down into the larger container that it's sitting in, and you've got a water reservoir which you just keep topped up, and that helps to keep it hydrated. But tomatoes can be really tricky to grow under cover, especially when planted in pots. And the one regret I have with this greenhouse is that when it was built I had the entire floor concreted, and I really wish now that I'd kept this side with an open border so that I could actually plant directly into the soil. But there's nothing really I can do about it now. I suppose I could get someone with an angle grinder and make a bed, but it's going to make a heck of a mess, and I don't think I can be bothered with that. So I've got to learn to live with it, but then we all make mistakes. Wow, look at these. The greenhouse is clean. It looks so much more spacious, and I've now got an efficient growing station ready for spring. Well, thank you for joining me. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks to apply to your own greenhouse, and if you've got any tips or secrets for spring greenhouse gardening, then I'd love to hear them in the comments below. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing for more gardening content. I'm Annie, and this is my kitchen garden.